Fantasy managers, hello and welcome back to the Game Week 20 FPL show by FPL Addicts, powered by Esports Live and sponsored by Bonus Bank. A quick big thank you to our sponsor Bonus Bank for supporting us and our community for this season. Make sure you're checking out the details in the caption below so you can learn how to take advantage of bookie promotions. It's free to set up, but you can also receive a 25% discount off your first premium month with the discount code down below as well. And if you're listening or watching, and if you're enjoying the content, make sure you give our video some love, drop us a like, rating or review, and as well as subscribe. Today we've got the three amigos. We're back after a fairly poor Game Week 19 for all three of us all round. We've got Ollie and we've got Jack. So Ollie, how are you doing, mate?
Yeah, very, very well. Thank you. Merry Christmas to all the FPL managers and a Happy New Year to all of you. Hopefully your festivities are going better than your FPL managing, because it's been a tough one for most people, or definitely better than for me anyway, because I've had an awful festive period. But hopefully you're all well, and it's great to be back on the podcast again with a couple of absolute top lads.
Yeah, absolutely. Damo, it's good to see you, mate. Hope you had a good FPL week and a lovely Christmas with all your family and everything. And I'm sure we'll be speaking to you and seeing you a little bit soon. Jack, how are you doing? Did you have a good Christmas? I know Man United didn't bring you too much cheer this morning, but have you had a good one?
His
Jack's
microphone
on mute.
hasn't. His microphone
Jack's on mute.
hasn't.
How the
Here we go.
turntables.
Here we go. You can tell I've had a few beers, haven't you? Anyway, so
Too many.
yeah, I've had a cracking Christmas, boys. Good to be on the podcast, and yeah, delighted to be here, and good to see you faces online and as well as in person over the last couple of days as well.
Absolutely, and we won't keep you waiting any longer because we're here to talk about FPL. We're not here to talk about Christmas or anything like that. But as Ollie said, hope you had a wonderful Christmas and a brilliant time as we head into the new year.
What a Scrooge this guy is, huh? Didn't get what
Grinch.
Didn't get
FPL
what he wanted
Grinch.
for Christmas.
FPL Grinch, that's brilliant. Anyway, we'll move on to a little bit of review for Game Week 19. The couple of fixtures that were played, there were of course 3 that were postponed, so 7 of them did go ahead as planned. And Ollie, was there a fixture that really stood out for you? I can see one there where there was 9 goals, which I'm fairly certain at least one of you is going to pick. So was there one that really stood out for you, mate?
Yeah, I don't really want to rant about postponements too much after the shambles that happened down in Hull earlier this week, but look, or the weekend I should say. But I will take that 9-goal game as you mentioned. I had a look at some of these goals yesterday, all of them. My days, they were an absolute flurry. Obviously, Man City got off to a flyer. Obviously, won the game 6-3, but 4-0 up at one point. Had it pegged back to 4-3. We've obviously got the manager of the week later on, who was, let's face it, don't want to be scathing or anything, but was very lucky off the back of this game with a certain captain choice. But Raheem Sterling was brilliant in this game. City racing out to a 4-goal lead. It looked like, a question of how many. Leicester all back into it. Obviously, Iheanacho against his former club got himself a goal, didn't really celebrate. Similar scenes to sort of Neil Maupay as well against Brentford. But then City
Not
not
Riyad Mahrez against Leicester though.
I saw that. I was watching that. I was like, Leicester made you. You'd be nothing without Leicester. He was in like the 3rd tier of French football before he moved to Leicester, and he just gone and celebrated. A penalty was it against him? Like, you've just scored it from 12 yards that you're expected to score against the club that made you. Have a bit of respect. But a good win for City. They're going to be up at the top of the league, you'd think, at the end of the season anyway. Probably my title win, as I'm going to predict. So good win for them against the decent Leicester side. Yeah, that's the game I'll cover.
Yeah, absolutely, and good to see you, James, and Matt as well. Hope you're having a wonderful time up in Queensland, enjoying all the good weather. It's been all right down here in Melbourne weather-wise, so you're not missing out on too much. But hope you boys had a great Christmas and a good time as we head into the new year as well. Jack, a second fixture. There's only 3 of us on today, so you're going to have to pick another fixture yourself. Was there another fixture from an FPL perspective that really stood out to you?
Oh, it's got to be the thriller this morning, 1-1. Not going to pick that game. I think the one to look out for FPL assets, the players that we didn't have in the Spurs camp. We had obviously Kane and Son hitting. Lucas Moura running riot against Crystal Palace. It was a couple of assets that we all want to have. Probably haven't made the move early enough to have in our camp. But yeah, Spurs looking good under Conte versus Crystal Palace. Obviously, you want to mention the Arsenal assets in there against Arsenal versus Norwich. 5-0, unbelievable, absolutely smashing it in there, aren't they? But I think the Son and Kane, who's definitely on my radar, hitting, smashing, doing the business. But Lucas Moura coming away with 17 points, looking very good in there. Happy days, huh? The guru will be happier.
He's cheap as well as that Lucas Moura, so we've already seen him rise in price once, so I'm going to imagine it's going to be more of the same at the minute if he can keep up this form, because under Conte he has been absolutely brilliant. That was the fixtures and the results for game week 19, but in terms of the mini league, the paid mini that we've got, there's only one change to the top three. We had Nathan Burgess breaking in to third there, and Geordie Wilson and Donald Breslin still managed to remain top of this league, and they're cracking on towards 1,300 points now as top of the league on our Breslin, so they're doing absolutely brilliant. And you can see there Nathan with that huge green arrow got 74 points this week, which brings him up into third place. In terms of the manager of the week from our paid league, however, is one of the guru's best mates, Matt Cowling. He's absolutely smashed it this week. It's his first manager of the week prize. He got 82 points in this game week, which is absolutely ridiculous. He played his free hit. He captained Raheem Sterling, which I'm sure not many people would have had the guts to do. He did tell me on Twitter that he tried to change it and he didn't mean to captain Sterling, but I told him that you're not meant to say that. You're meant to take all the credit that you possibly can. He had Lucas Moura as well, so he's absolutely hit the nail on the head this week with his free hit. If you were going to use it, you don't want it to go to waste. You know you've got to do that, and he's done brilliantly there, hasn't he, Jack? 20 Aussie dollars in his back pocket as well, and 82 FPL points.
Well, listen, the Matt Cowling, obviously a Liverpool fan, is in our paid mini. He's very interactive on our Discord community online. He's the understudy to Matt Day. I'm sure Matt's taking him under his wing, giving him all the information. He's put his own spin on there as well. He'll hate that, actually, to be fair. But he's done cracking there. He's done cracking. Like, to put Raheem Sterling as captain for your week, he's gone for the random free hit, I guess, in a way, because some people have held on to it, obviously, like people like myself, held on to it. He's gone for it, and he's put Sterling as captain. I think that's a massive call. And obviously, I know he's messed up, but he was thinking it. He kind of went with his gut. That's massive. Ollie, would you be happy with that? Do you know what I mean? Would you take a risk like that?
I mean, it's obviously worked for him, hasn't it? If we're being honest, he's slightly lucky captain choice, we know. But look, a player that probably hasn't, obviously a brilliant player, Raheem Sterling, but not really talked about much in captain circles. Had a brilliant game, and he's obviously done well. So I wouldn't have done personally. I mean,
that's his first double-digit haul of the season.
All season.
He came off a great Euros, didn't he? And then
he was brilliant. Well, I mean, the thing is, he wasn't great for England, but he came up when it mattered. And that's what the thing I loved about Raheem Sterling.
He was good for England. Come on, he was good for England.
In parts, he
put in a few poor performances, but he always managed to pop up with the goal.
That's my point. I agree, Elliot, 100%. But and he's done really well. I wouldn't have gone with him. Maybe Sterling's a player we've got to look at. Like, if he's putting in performances like that, if he can do that week in, week out, we've got to look at him. He's a top player on his day. We've known that for years. But he's just roared himself back into FPL contention with the
Is he better? Is he better as a team player? Like, kind of to make the dream work, sort of thing, or is he better as an individual? So I guess that matters in FPL situation.
Team player definitely, but the thing is with Man City, they've got so many options that you can use. It's just which one's going to fire. They've got an embarrassment of riches. Pep's got everyone. We see it. We talk about it more in defence, don't we, than in midfield? But even in midfield, you've got Bernardo, De Bruyne. In an FPL sense, even if maybe not the same position on the pitch. In FPL sense, you've got all those players
Mahrez,
and many more. Mahrez, Grealish. So is Sterling? Sterling's obviously got to be in that conversation now. But I wouldn't have taken that risk. But fair play, even if there was a huge slice of luck in there. Fair play to Matt Cowling for having the armband on him.
He'll take it.
Fairly certain it happened as well because of the infamous FPL website crashing, which I don't know. I'm sure you boys have seen it. We're all on Twitter, all follow a lot of FPL accounts. That's pretty much all we ever see. So everyone pretty much heard of it. The website crashing and everything. So that has played into Matt Cowling's favour there a little bit.
To be fair, El, I think I crashed before the Boxing Day crash on FPL.
must have been what happened.
So what
And
do you,
since
what do you blame? What do you blame here?
Yeah, exactly. The people at FPL were just having a really good Christmas, weren't they? So they were still partying much into the morning and everything, and the website did manage to go down. But it's a good point that Ollie makes there. With Man City, they've got all those wingers to choose from, an absolute abundance. I saw a tweet this week, that only scientists choose at the right time which Man City wingers to bring in and everything, and managed to tag D10 in it. I don't know if he's watching along live now. I'm sure he's probably asleep, ready for coaching in the morning or something, but he was saying that you don't need science when you've got Razzle, and that's the most important thing. And he said he wasn't too good at science, but he was good at Razzle, so that's all you need to be good at is the eye test. Not much of a scientist.
I suppose one more thing I want to get to. We might get onto the question itself later, but it's just a point about, again, what in the comments mentioned about Bernardo Silva and the benching dilemma. It's a thing with Pep as well. Pep, benching plays himself. He's got a benching dilemma, and we've got an FPL as well. It's crazy how good that Man City team is. Question from, I hope I'm pronouncing this right, from Nishal here saying, got a benching dilemma between Bernardo, Bowen, Alonso, and King. At the moment, it's a tough one to call, but Bernardo is one that I think your D10's advocated for. He's a player that not many
D10
people
started
had.
the movement, mate. He
He
was
did.
the
He
first
did.
one to have
He
him in
really
his
did.
team.
He was the trailblazer, but he's one that not too many have. But that Nishal's got a potential issue with, and we've got to make decisions and give a bit of advice. Even when the guru's not here, then we're trusted to make advice. It's probably not going to go well for you.
So,
But
Elliot, what would
try
you
our
do
best.
there, mate?
It's a difficult one for me, I think. I've got 3 out of those 4 players there. The only one that I don't have from that sort of dilemma there is Josh King. So I will obviously be starting Alonso, Bowen, and Bernardo myself personally. But I think Bernardo Silva has to start. Brentford away. I think Man City, you're seeing what they're doing to these teams at the minute. They've definitely got the ability to turn them over. And I think Bernardo Silva's probably due a goal at this point. I know the guru loves to say that players are due a goal. But I feel like he really is due a nice return for how he's been playing recently. I think West Ham are quite depleted at the minute, so I'm not too sure what they're going to be able to do. I'm obviously starting Bowen. I back him in to get a return, but I think in terms of the game at the minute, I would probably still play Bowen over Alonso just purely because it only takes 1 goal and then your Alonso haul is absolutely gone. So I've sort of learned this season, especially, you should usually favour the attacking player because it doesn't just take 1 lapse of judgment or, a goalkeeping error or a defensive error and then all your points for Alonso are pretty much gone. But I think they're both really good options, but I would probably be benching Josh King if it was me. And then I'd probably bench between Alonso or Bowen. Definitely start Bernardo, but I'm going to say start Alonso, bench Bowen, bench King, and then you've always got them there if players aren't playing, if there's postponements, all that sort of stuff. So you're going to be safe for there. Jack, do you sort of agree with my analysis there?
I'm thereabouts. I think Bernardo is due. He's in my team. A lot of people have got him in their teams as well. So I'm hoping he holds. And as we've said, definitely the last couple of podcasts anyway, we've lived and learned about the defensive, versus the attacking. Go for the attacking assets on your subs bench. So I think definitely up on there. And we've just seen James Gavin has fallen asleep, must be tired. He's missing your podcast. Should I wake him up? So Mike Gaston, who's the hero on our podcast and our Discord community, he's a trooper still going. It must be a hard couple of days in Brisbane.
the real Gazdan guru, because he's the one that's awake watching the podcast, getting all the information.
Get him awake, Matt. Get him awake. Get him awake.
Wake him up, mate. Wake him up. Come on.
Absolutely, and it's nice to see you in the chat as well, Quentin and PSB. As far as we know him from Twitter, it's really nice to see you, and best of luck for you this week, mate. We do have a quick question from Quentin. Ollie, I'll let you answer this one. He says, "Couldn't get Salah back in, so I have Son. What's your thoughts? Gonna captain Cancelo?"
Oh, first of all, captain defenders. If you're going to captain one, maybe Man City might be the option. Brentford away is an away fixture, so it's an interesting one going Cancelo. To answer your actual question, Salah, I probably would. I don't think it's too big a problem if you've sold him. I've sold him as well. I did go to Bruno, who somehow 1 game before the yellow cards get wiped, he picks one up, which is very frustrating. I don't mind Son. Obviously, now with hopefully a Tottenham upturn after a good result at the weekend, Son probably will be the catalyst to a lot of the things that that Tottenham are going to try and do. So I don't mind that. Obviously, Salah with AFCON now looks less attractive. Although as soon as he comes back, you've got to have a plan to get him in. I've got 3 million in the bank, and I'm going to keep some spare to get Salah back in as soon as he's ready. But yeah, I don't mind Son as an option.
Yeah, I think that's you hit the nail on the head there, Ollie. I'm personally going to be going without Salah for the next 2 weeks, Quentin, before he goes to AFCON, and I've got Son in as well, and it's either going to make or break my season, and I've got a feeling it's going to break it because I think he's due a big return against Leicester, and I'm just going to sit there praying.
Let's be honest, mate.
Have you
Both of our
transferred him
seasons
out
are broken
already?
anyway.
I transferred him out for this game week.
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Same.
Took him out for Son this week.
I
Did
went
fancy him
for the
against
Newcastle
Leicester?
game.
No.
Well, it was just difficult because obviously they didn't have the game. Sorry, for game week 19, so I took him out for Son for that one because Son was playing. Son got lucky, scored with his last touch of the game pretty much. He wasn't brilliant, but, you know, he gets the FPL points. That's all that really matters.
Of course, yeah.
And I checked that, you know, AFCON, the fixtures that Salah's going to miss out on in my team for the next two would be Leicester and Chelsea. And, you know, it's Mohamed Salah. He can return against any team in the league, can't he? So it is really a really big risk. And I think...
Is he the best player in the world or not?
He probably on form is the best player in the world this season for sure. Like,
Agreed.
There's been two game weeks when he hasn't got some sort of attack in return from 19 game weeks of Premier League football, which is absolutely absurd. So he's going to end the season on pretty high numbers if he can keep it up. But I think it is possible to go without Salah, but I would make sure you got premiums elsewhere. So I think if you've got Son, it's probably going to be somewhat suitable cover, but don't clip it.
Is anyone going KDB straight in for Salah?
Guru's loving KDB at the minute. Captained him again this week, and you know he's rewarded him. So it's about time that he got a big return. KDB. He's been out injured for a while, so I think he's another brilliant option. I'd say Son or KDB are the two to go for if you're going to take Salah out personally.
Yeah, listen, I was playing about my team this morning, just seeing what I could do before deadline. Obviously, we'll get into transfers and stuff soon, but I was thinking, how can I get them both in? You know, I think I want both of them assets in there. You feel like if you haven't got Salah, you need one person to replace, but then maybe another premium, don't you? I don't know. I've got a bit of FOMO about that, I think.
I know you've got to have those sort of premium players in your team just to sort of put your heart at rest and everything, don't you? So it's an interesting one, but I do think it is possible to go with that Salah for the next 2 weeks. Don't clip it and don't bring it back when Salah returns 2 weeks in a row with double-digit hauls. And we've got another question. I can as well, mate. That's why I'm moving on quickly to the next question. Best forward under 6 million for me. It's Brozier at the minute. He's doing the business for Southampton, 5.2 million. Looked at him before. Ollie, if I'm not mistaken, I think you're going to be looking to bring him in your team this week.
I mean, I know, like we've talked about our transfer section, but since we're here, I'm gonna spoiler alert. Not that anyone really cares. It's not like Spider-Man or something where people actually care what I'm doing this week. But Brozier's the one I brought in, and I can advocate for it. Obviously, he's done miles better than Armstrong has. I expected Armstrong to go there and do a lot of things after what he did with us, but you know, he's really hit the ground running as Brozier. Obviously, with the Cobham Academy, they've produced a lot of good players, and they've, you know, got another one here. 12 points against Palace with the goal and assist recently. You know, his run of fixtures, if you look at it, is a bit shady, but you can bench a player at that price anyway. So I'd be looking at Brozier. Obviously, he's saying under 6 million. You've got Dennis at 6.
Enough to carry you through as a second striker?
You can have him as a third striker.
What about a second? Is he enough?
Second? Probably not. If you're looking for a second, I've also got Dennis, who is 6 million. I don't know. Obviously, you're saying under 6.
Is he going to AFCON?
He's going to AFCON. Are you going to shift out for King?
I don't know what I'm going to do there, but you can go one of those two. Obviously, you know, it depends on how the countries do. Obviously, at AFCON. Because obviously, if they go further, they'll obviously be away longer. Captain obvious, Ollie there. But if Nigeria get, I mean,
cheers,
to be
Ollie.
fair, I don't think Nigeria will be bundled out early. But let's say they are, then Dennis is back, and you've got a good player there who's going to play and going to score goals because he's been electric for Watford. Nigeria will probably go far, so that's one thing you've got to consider. So yeah, and then also if they do, then King probably gets his opportunity. Obviously Norwegian, so he won't be affected by AFCON.
Geography with Ollie.
I'm not wrong. I'm not wrong.
You're not wrong, mate. You're right. You're not wrong.
So obviously he'll get his opportunity. So
this
I'd
is
probably
an
say
argument.
King or Brozier. There you go. There's the
This-
answer.
when that question came up though, because I was playing my team this morning, I'm thinking, I think I'm probably going to go 5 in midfield during this next couple of weeks. I go heavy in midfield rather than versus up top. So when I was asking that question, I was thinking, well, a lot of people have got the Watford assets, so that's what I was thinking. Is Brozier the second striker? If people have got, Ronaldo, Kane, Lukaku, for example, I think in 2 strikers is probably my maximum. I don't think I'll get 3 strikers. Like Hwang, for example, got an injury over the last couple of days, or he's out until February. So I think I might have to go 2 strikers only. So that's what I was thinking.
I think it's possible. If you've
Yeah.
got five good midfielders, I think it's definitely possible to have Brozier as your second striker.
And just write off that third striker, because I think managers will be in that position now, because you don't want to wait to transfer. I was looking at my ones and going, ooh, if Salah's going, I'm going to have to think about my transfer strategy around these moves now. And if he goes out, I've got to replace him with a premium. That's a transfer gone. I've got Hwang just gone for an injury. So do I replace him? I've got Ramsdale out for the next game. And then they've got City in goal. So these moves causing massive headaches.
Yeah. And the thing with AFCON as well and Liverpool, the big one for me is the question about Divock Origi, because obviously, Ollie, you would know that Belgium is also not an African country, so Origi won't be participating in AFCON. But is Origi going to be getting a start? Because if he is, I'm fairly certain that...
Is he not injured?
Is he injured?
I think he's got a flag on him, you know.
Does he? Because I thought he played the other week in the Cup for Liverpool. Maybe
Let's have a look.
he might have picked up an
I'll try
injury.
and find it.
No flag. No. Oh no, there is knee injury.
Wow.
There you go.
That went
Yeah,
under the
I saw
radar.
that. Yeah, because he's 4.8. And I was thinking, oh, who's under 5 mil under Brozier?
Yeah.
And then Origi, he turned up for 22 minutes this season, scored 1. No, he scored 2 in 26 minutes. 36 minutes, he scored 2 goals.
Yeah, there's a 2 against Palace up there. So third time lucky. He's got 38 minutes.
He's got 38 minutes. There
Good,
you go.
Jack. Good, Jack. We've had a nightmare tonight.
Do you know something?
We've had geography and maths tonight.
I was trying to do math myself. I sat right at the bottom of the table there for me. 38, 2 goals, and he's out injured. So he's off. He's done.
Yeah.
Never mind him.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting.
I was going to say, speaking of strikers, another good one, especially with the Wilson injury this morning from Mo.
Here we go.
Best forward up for 8.2, right down the bottom, Mikel Antonio. So once Mikel Antonio back, in does Mo. I was tempted, I was turned away from Antonio because of his flag, because of his injury. And of course, he then went ahead and scored, which didn't help. Would you talk me out of transferring him in? No, I wouldn't personally.
He's
Jack?
in my side. He's in my side.
I'm looking at him, 100%. I won't write him off. I think it's tough with West Ham, though, isn't it? Because they're not. They're going to be starting to wean off soon, surely.
They already are. I think they already are.
They're conceding goals. Are they winning games? Obviously, they've had to bring Antonio at half. Was he come on at half time to score? And then he came on and scored. Was that what happened?
He only got 45.
So, but would you write him off? He's going to score goals, isn't he? He's still going to score goals, I think. If anyone's going to score goals, I don't think Bowen can carry him.
No, it's an interesting one with West Ham, because they've got so many good players, but they just don't have the depth that the other big teams do, do they?
They've probably got 14 good players, haven't they?
Yeah, and that's, it's not going to be good enough at the end of the day to get you over the line in the Premier League and
Champions League.
Yeah, you can already see it that they're getting really tired and all that sort of stuff. Sorry, Ozspike just said we got a little bit sidetracked. We have got a little bit sidetracked. We've talked for a while. I've got one more question, and then I'll show you the rest of the mini leagues, and then we'll go through our teams, and then our transfers and our captain discussion for the upcoming game week. Just one more question. Best Ramsdale replacement at 5 million. For me personally, there's 2 at the minute. I think Sanchez has got a good set of fixtures coming up after, I think, he's got Man City not this week, the week after, or maybe it's not Man City. He's got a purple fixture coming up next game week, and then after that, it's looking fairly good. Oh no, sorry, they've got Chelsea this week. They play Chelsea this week, so they've got the purple fixture this week. Then after that, it's looking fairly good for Brighton. And then the other one, which I can't really believe that I'm saying this, but the best set of fixtures in the league right now is Everton. So it might be time to look at little
Pickford.
arms Jordan Pickford, because
The dinosaur.
despite he's actually
T-Rex.
been okay this season. He was good at the Euros for England, so it pains me to say it. So I'm hoping someone else can chirp in with a better.
Elliot
option.
is quiet. Because you haven't heard of him, does that mean he's doing all right?
Yeah.
That's
Because
it.
he hasn't made any blunders, has he? So he's doing the bang
Probably getting
average.
smashed. They've been getting
Yeah.
smashed, haven't they?
Yeah, and the issue is that it's also Everton, and they're quite inconsistent in everything this season. So it's a difficult one, but I would say those two for me at the minute. I've had Sanchez in all season. I don't plan on getting him out anytime soon because he's cheap and he gets you points. Just as I said that we'll move on to the next section, we've got a couple more questions. Keep all the questions coming in because we're absolutely loving it. Obviously, the deadline isn't too far away now. We've got 14 people watching along, so if you've got any questions, get them in. We've got another one from Matt Worth. He says James Bernardo and Emil Smith Rowe all great, but is the time now to get rid? That's an interesting one. I'm not too sure. James and Bernardo. I don't have James in my team personally. I've definitely thought about getting rid of Bernardo Silva. He's going to be on watch for the next 2 game weeks for me, I think. But Smith Rowe at 6 million, I don't really see the point in getting rid of him. I think you can't really do much wrong. And, I know he hasn't necessarily been starting or anything, but he did score and he's been getting points for Arsenal and everything. So maybe if you want to go to a Bukayo Saka or a Gabriel Martinelli, that's a better option. But, Smith Rowe, I definitely wouldn't be looking to get rid of at the minute because he's so cheap. But James and Bernardo Silva are that more expensive price for their position. So I can definitely understand why I want to get rid of them. Jack, what do you make of this?
Yeah, you funny you should say that, Alex. Like I said, I was messing around my team this morning, trying to find a way. I've got 2 free transfers this week, right? Well, I know we'll talk about transfers soon, but Bernardo's playing deeper for City, potentially. So I need to look at what I'm doing with him. I haven't got James, so he's probably not in my thinking, but I've got ESR. Now, Arsenal have got a fixture in the next game week, and then they've got City. So there's 2 game weeks where ESR you could potentially get rid of. So I think it's probably a good time to look at, and you could downgrade him. If you are getting rid of Salah, then you can obviously downgrade Salah, and then you've got 2. Like what I'm looking at now is looking at getting 2 premiums in with KDB and Son. So I'm trying to make a bit of room, free a bit of space to bring 2 more expensive players in, rather than going sideways or anything like that. So if I downgrade ESR to, I'm looking at Damari Gray, for example, or someone even lesser like Anthony Gordon for Everton, who've got good fixtures. He's playing a lot of minutes. So yeah, ESR I am looking at downgrading, and Bernardo I am looking at replacing with a better City asset, even if that's Mahrez or even, for example. So yeah. I'm definitely looking at changing.
Damari Gray is one that I've definitely got my eye on at the minute. Maybe getting rid of Bernardo for him. I think that's a very good shout. I've looked at him because Damari Gray started the season like a house on fire. He was absolutely brilliant. He was getting points left, right, and centre. And then the horrible fixtures just hit for them. They're coming out of that now. They've got a lot of green coming up. So I think it's definitely time to be getting Damari Gray back in your team. He's cheap. Gets points, he plays with intensity. We've seen what he can do this season. He looks like a new player since he's come back to the Premier League. So I definitely think that's a good shout. But yeah, it's a good point that you make with Smith Rowe again, Jack, because they do sort of have those 2 games, which will probably end up being write-offs for them. If you can, shift them out for someone like a Damari Gray, I think you will get value from that. But, Arsenal have been good this season, and Smith Rowe can keep his place in that team. When the fixtures do pop back up again, I definitely think he's one to have in your team. Even if he sits first on your bench at 6 million, he's not breaking the bank. And, with not too many premium strikers this season that are really doing the business, it's definitely worthwhile having those sort of more expensive bench midfielders if possible, in my opinion. We do have another question from Quentin, Jack, and it's about Man United this morning. Do we put it down to COVID distractions, he says, and is Sancho a sneaky option this week?
Oh, I'd love to be positive about United, but after watching what I saw this morning, like Sancho did all right this morning, to be fair. Second half, we looked a lot better than what we did the first half, but as you know, it wasn't great from United. You had every chance of winning that game. If it wasn't for David De Gea, it would be obviously amazing, but I think there's a lot of issues with United. We know that anyway. That's why Ollie got sacked. Ralph's come in. He hasn't spent a lot of time on the training ground with the team. They've had now the Carrington training ground shut down. COVID restrictions. Lindelof, for example, even had that COVID case yesterday. Varane came in. He looked like it was his first game of football ever. So I think Oh my goodness! So up on screen we've got Wreck-It Ralph with some of the cartoons from Elliot's preschool this week. So I think it's very, very difficult, Quentin, to bring in Sancho or anything like that. I wouldn't be spending my money there. I need to see something a bit more with this 4-2-2-2 to make sure it works.
We need to get back to the mini league nowadays.
We do. Just ever so quickly with the last one. How's Lloris for an option in goal? Spurs look so much better defensively under Conte that I think it is a good option. And how bad was Ronaldo last night? He didn't create a chance and he didn't really have a shot on target. So
And
he
clattered
was
Ryan
pretty,
Fraser.
he did clatter Ryan Fraser, so it was pretty poor. Fair play to Newcastle early. They did look great. It's just we can't really do that every week, I don't think. So it's going to be interesting to see if we can, start to get a little bit of form together, and maybe we'll have a fighting chance to stay in the division. But with the injuries to Saint and Wilson, I'm not too confident at the minute. But we'll get back on track and we'll go back to the free mini league. It's nearly half an hour in and we haven't even done the free mini league, lads. So we thank you for all your questions. Keep the questions coming because that's obviously the best part is when we can help you guys out and everything. And because there's so many of you in, if you haven't already, make sure you're subscribing and dropping a like on the live stream as well because it really does help us. But in top of the free league still, and he has broken the 1,300 point mark, is FPL Planner. Billy Bragdon dropped down to second, and Donald Breslin it sits there in third. So 1,300 points so far this season, Ollie. That's just absurd, isn't it?
Yeah, Tien's a top lad as well. Interacts with us on Twitter. He's talking about. I saw a tweet this morning about Ronaldo, like all the best case scenario, worst case scenario, how he would drop outside the top 2K if Ronaldo did something. I'm like, mate, us peasants in the top 700K, and you're talking about top 2K, but like fair play, he's done brilliantly and he deserves to be up there. And good things happen to good people as well, which is good.
Spot on, mate. In terms of the women's mini, there's been one change to the top three. We've got Tashi still at top, Leanne sits there in second, and Maya has broken her way back into the top three. And Karen Spence has dropped down to fifth, which is quite surprising. She started the season so well. She seemed to just taper off a little bit now, but obviously it is a difficult festive period for a lot of people. So I'm sure her season will find legs again at some point. In terms of the bonus bank head-to-head mini, I did manage to get a win this week, lads, which I'm not really sure how with the amount of points that I got this week, which we'll touch on in a minute. I didn't even know that I won. Just assume that I lost. Well, I definitely didn't play the average because the average would have beaten me. But Donald Breslin sits in top, Simon Reynolds in second, and Tom Stones in third, with Mark Sargent and Ali Pizza Boy there in fifth as well. So that's how that league's shaping up. And obviously, none of you boys are getting anywhere near me in that league at the minute as well. So it's the one league that I can take somewhat bragging rights from. In terms of our weeks, though, boys, I'm not going to lie, it wasn't very good from us. It's going to be quite embarrassing for us to reel off how we went. So, in terms of me, 39 points on the eye doesn't look awful. Took a 4-point hit for Ben Davies because had to correct my Tavares mistake a couple of weeks ago where I went with Tavares over Davies, and of course. Ben Davies decides he doesn't want to play this week, tells Conte, no, I'm good. Conte's like, yeah, you know what? Give you some rest. He plays Tanganga instead, who I was very close to putting in my team because he is cheap, and I would have just gone with a straight swap to Tanganga from Tavares. But that's not how FPL works, and it just seems to want to, punish me as much as it possibly can. But the good about my week, Sanchez with another brilliant return. As I said, he's been my goalkeeper all season, so he's just been absolutely fantastic. Smith Rowe got the late goal for Arsenal. He keeps coming back to haunt FPL managers that don't have him. You see it all over Twitter. You think, Smith Rowe's starting on the bench. He's not going to come on. He's not going to play. He's not going to score. He always seems to pull up with some sort of return, does this boy? And I'm loving having him in my side. Bowen got an assist, which was nice because I obviously got him and Antonio in for the couple of fixtures before this game week. Well, the Norwich fixture and all that sort of stuff. But obviously they got cancelled due to COVID. So it's nice to see a return from those two. 9 points between them. And then Heung-min Son with the late goal for him, getting him 8 points. And then captain Cristiano Ronaldo, more like ghost because he didn't really do much this morning, and that's pretty much as far as my week goes. The only thing that can make me a little bit happier is seeing that Ollie did obviously get 2 less points than me, and he also took a 4-point hit. So a really poor week from you here, Ollie. I'm not going to rib you too much because I had a poor week myself, but take us through the very little good about your week.
God, if you're outscoring me with that, that absolute awful team, then I should just crawl into an FPL hole and hide. Because what is this absolute abomination? I've seen 3 days of England cricket, and somehow they perform better than this FPL side. My days, absolutely awful. Can I just say, I'm going to exclude Robert Sanchez from this absolute evisceration that I'm going to go through with this team. Because Robert Sanchez, well played, 9 points, solved the goalkeeping problem that I had with Guaita because he was somehow dropped for some reason. Again, Smith Rowe, good, Bowen, good, but we've already talked about them. Bruno Fernandes, the pen merchant from last season. Obviously not doing too much other than getting booked and getting suspended right before the yellow cards get wiped. So
He
class
whined
from
a lot as
Bruno.
well. He did
And
complain a lot this morning.
his compatriot, who I captained, was awful, other than absolutely booting Ryan Fraser, into outer space, which I found rather amusing. He did nothing else. Wilson's injured, so I think I'm taking another 4-point hit to get rid of Callum Wilson too, which is great. Oh no, in fact, no, I've gone the one transfer from Wilson to Brozier, so that's what I made to get money to bring Salah back in a couple of weeks. But this team's a shambles. I'm doing awfully. Can I have some green arrows, please, FPL?
It's all I wanted for Christmas. That was all that was on my wish list, boys. To Sansa was just a couple of green arrows in FPL, and so far I got a sack of coal and just some concurrent red arrows from me personally. But Ollie, it's not the best week from you. It's not been the best week from any of us on the podcast today. So we can find solace in that, obviously, because the Guru and Reedy did do quite well themselves. But it's not about them this week because they're out. Doing things other than the podcast, so they're not here. But Jack, take us through your week. You didn't take a 4-point hit like Ollie, but you did land on 33 points overall as well. So take us through your team.
Yeah, shocking week, a bit like you boys. Not as bad in terms of Ollie, but obviously I got the City clean sheet. The Arsenal clean sheets. Got the City contributions. Diaz with that last couple of minutes assist. Happy days. Liverpool not in there, not in the mix. And then Ronaldo, obviously shocking this morning. Nothing to get excited about. There's no double-digit holes. Just trying to get through to the average, and I didn't hit the average, which was really disappointing. I thought I'd have enough in that team to do something. Obviously, we felt United against Newcastle was going to be a lot more, so that's why the captain's armband went on Ronaldo, like so many in our membership base as well, especially in the paid mini. I think it was more than 50% captain Ronaldo. More Arsenal. Arteta doing the business for us. So thanks to him for the 18 points from Arsenal.
Big Mikel Arteta is finally doing something for FPL managers, and it's nice to see, isn't it?
So listen, it was good, but I'm looking at these fixtures going into this week. I'm going Ronaldo definitely. COVID obviously wipes out Liverpool game. Got 3 assets in there, fuming, and I thought I just felt Chelsea might, Mason Mount, he's been in good form, might do something, but he seems to be coming in spurts, doesn't he? And City, like Bernardo's playing a bit deeper, just absolutely killed so many FPL managers, including myself. So it's just so frustrating, but it's hard to take, innit?
It is, and that's the lows of FPL, and we take the rough with the smooth, as Ollie always says. That's one of his signature phrases. just like the smooth, don't you? So it's an interesting one, but
just seems rough, like my hangover tomorrow.
We'll have to.
I could see you being honest, Jack. Oh my days.
Just for clarification, Ollie is not hungover as well, as he said. He's been watching England cricket for the past 3 days, so he might as well be hungover. But he's too much sun and too much poor batting from England as well. But we can move back on to some more questions now before we touch on our transfers and our captains. We've got a question from Sun Goes Burr. I'm not really too sure what the name is there, but I'm not going to judge. He says, I know Ronaldo got a nice fixture, but can't make myself to trust United. Last game it proved my point. What is your view? I think it's an interesting one with Ronaldo because he is so expensive. To see a game like he did this morning where he just didn't get involved in the game at all. And I don't personally think that it is necessarily his fault. Personally, I think it is the midfield for Man United. They just can't seem to get the ball to him. And that's the issue, because if you give him the ball, he's obviously going to create the chances and put chances away. He's Cristiano Ronaldo. He's done it for the past 15 odd years of his career. So I don't know. I don't necessarily think he is the problem, but in terms of an FPL perspective, you can't be having a player that expensive, not really even having a shot on target, not a sniff at goal for a game when there's better options around the pitch, in different positions and that sort of stuff. Jack, obviously you are the resident Man United fan, so what do you sort of make of that?
Yeah, and it's a tough one because you go, listen, get him out your team. Do you know what I mean? If you've got the transfers and you've got a lot of, if you've got all your fixtures are on, for example, and you've got the transfers and you're looking to make a move, then I wouldn't be against it, because like even though we've got Burnley next game is a good fixture, but United need to get the ball to Ronaldo, and we're struggling to find what we are about. It is very tough. We need more time on the training ground. We need all the players on the training ground. He needs to work out his 4-2-2, or if he does change the formation like he did at half time this morning, obviously in Australia time, we need to find a balance and the right direction what we're doing. Otherwise, it's what we were doing under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. So I think if you have got the moves, you're looking to make a move and you can move him out, then why not look at Harry Kane? Do you know what I mean? Have a look at Harry Kane. No one else really particularly excites me outside of that. I think Harry Kane is going to be the differential, just purely because obviously managers haven't backed him after what he's done. He's only scored 1 goal since May, I think it is, at home this year. I think that's what he did the other day. And then he scored again in the last 24 hours. So Harry Kane's your man if you go across. But I'm not. I've got him in my team. I've got issues to put out elsewhere. So I'm going to concentrate on there. I want to be taking a hit to move him out, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I think it's a fair assessment there. We've got a question from James, and he says, "Any idea on the Wilson injury? Can't find much online." I've just brought up a tweet there from Craig Hope, who is probably one of the most reliable
6
Newcastle
weeks surely.
journalists that you will find. I think it'll probably be a fair bit of time. I've read
Yeah.
a lot of different things, but I've seen, several months out has been suggested for him because when he got fouled, it wasn't even a foul in my opinion. I don't even think Greenwood touched him. I
No.
think it was just impact on the ground. He felt something pop. And we know Callum Wilson, unfortunately, he's a brilliant player, but he is made of glass. And he's not one to avoid injury for too long. So it wouldn't shock me if he's out for a fair bit of time. And he just kept going for that calf and everything. And he wasn't too happy with it, and he couldn't even get himself to half time. So I would suggest it's not looking too good for Callum Wilson for the next couple of weeks. So I'd definitely be looking to shift him out of your side if you've got him, and probably the same with Alan San-Maximin as well, because I think he was another one where he didn't really have too much impact when he obviously pulled up with the injury. So I think his hamstring or whatever it was, his calf or anything, doesn't look too good. So it's going to be an interesting one to see, what Newcastle want to do. Obviously, there's all the talk of all the money they can spend in January, but they might have to reassess now because we obviously needed defenders, we thought. But if these players here that you can see on screen, Ryan Fraser, Callum Wilson, and Sam Maximan, are going to be injured, you're going to need to get some new attackers in because from there, Joel Linton's the box to box Zidane these days, so he's not an attacker.
What a position now you're in. Like, you look great this morning in parts, and then all of a sudden you've got 3 injuries to 3 key players.
Was bittersweet, wasn't it? Because obviously, if you'd offered me a point before the game, I would have taken it hands down. But I was getting through the game, and I was thinking, anything less than 3 from this game, is probably not going to be too good of a service. And then obviously those 2 players went off injured, Callum Wilson and Sam Maximan, and I'm just thinking, looking at the fixtures, going, if we don't win this one, then these boys are going to be out for a fair bit of time, and we really desperately do need 3 points. But there is a small glimmer of hope. Obviously at the minute, and I've just seen this as well pop up on my feed, so I will share it just for a little bit of information for FPL managers. Who's from Luke Edwards, who is not a very well liked Newcastle journalist by all means, but he's got the inside information. It says we're very close to having the game against Everton called off because of COVID and injuries. Obviously, the 3 from this morning. The bench that we had a couple of young players on, so I'm not really too sure what's happening with the COVID situation at Newcastle at the minute. I've heard that there are a few positive cases. Eddie Howe confirmed that in his press conference as well. So it's not looking good.
He was chatting after the game, wasn't he, in his press conference after he went, what do you think about you obviously need 13 players to field to go for the game to go ahead? And he was like, I think by the next game we're going to be beyond that number.
we're the only team in the league to have not had a game postponed so far. So I think it is just a matter of time before something sort of hits us with the situation that's going on at the minute. I definitely wouldn't be shocked if our game against Everton does end up being called off. So it's a difficult one because we obviously play in 2 days' time. So if you're going to make transfers now, it's very, very risky. So it's a weird one. I personally would hold off on the Damari Gray transfer if you're going to be looking at him as a player to get into your team because of that reason, and just wait to see what sort of happens there. But it's an interesting one at Newcastle at the minute. No one's really too sure what's happening. But we'll move on to another question from Mark Amma and Ollie. He says Alonso to Regulon. What's your thoughts on that one?
I've said Regulon earlier on in the season did really, really well. Chelsea at the moment, they have a good fixture against Brighton, but going forward, it's not the best one, is it? You've got Liverpool home, City away, Tottenham at home, traditional Big Six sides. And then obviously the Club World Cup will be impacting that January to February. They've got two blanks for 24-25. So, I mean, they will probably have the double in 22, but they do have the City game thrown in there. So Chelsea's fixture list in regards to that isn't brilliant. Whereas Tottenham's, I can't remember who touched on it with Lloris before. We had the Lloris comment saying that Tottenham's fixtures are good, and they absolutely are. So I would be making that transfer in a heartbeat.
Yeah, I think Regulon's been brilliant this season. He looks even better under Antonio Conte as well. So I definitely think it's a good transfer to make. Just quickly, there are obviously a fair few of you in here, and obviously the deadline is approaching. So get any and all questions that you do have into the comments as we've got here. Jack, we've got another one. Antonio as a captaincy option. What do you make of that one?
Antonio as a captain. Wow. Listen, he's not a bad shout, is he? He obviously saved himself 45 minutes in the last game week. Him lining up for the next game week, I think he could be a decent option, to be fair. Obviously, I've personally not got him in my team yet. I am looking at him, but a Watford fixture away from home, that could be quite tasty for them. I'm not too sure what his record is, but that could be quite a decent fixture, to be fair.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, and obviously we talk a lot about West Ham and how they're going to slow down at one point. I can certainly see it now, but they're obviously known. They beat Chelsea a couple of weeks ago, so they definitely can turn up and do a lot of things. So we'll move on to the next question, but I definitely think it's a fair shout that you make there, and hopefully Antonio can start firing for all the managers, including myself, who have got him in their team. Will Dennis play this game week? I'm fairly certain if Watford's game goes ahead that Dennis will be playing. He
Yeah,
obviously
doesn't
just
have to
has
leave yet.
Yeah, he doesn't have to leave for AFCON or anything yet. So he's got this week and next game week as well to play. So I think if you've got him in your team, as Ollie's just confirmed there, he probably will be playing. He's got all the chance to play. So it just depends on if Ranieri wants to pick him in the team, which I'm sure he'd be crazy to not want to start Dennis because he's been on absolute fire this season. Got another
I
question.
saw that one over you. I was just researching it then, so just having a look through. And Dennis, at the moment, he's got the call. He's in the squad for Nigeria, but it doesn't have to leave yet, so he should start.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously, anyone who is watching along, enjoying the content, make sure you're liking and subscribing to the channel as well, because you can always catch the podcast and the live stream before the deadline for all the FPL help that you could ever need. We've got another one from Fishy Jack, and he says Jota and Ronaldo or Salah and Brozier.
Ooh, that's Jota, Ronaldo, and Salah and Brozier. Like, listen, this is the predicament I'm in here as well. I'm looking at Jota, and they're actually the moves I was looking at, apart from Ronaldo out. I'm going to Brozier and Jota, definitely my hit list. Salah to come out after the next game week. I think I'm going to stick with him this week. I'll roll over. But if you're going out there, I don't think it's a bad move. I'd be more looking at maybe a KDB, I reckon. If you're taking Salah out, get KDB out. Ronaldo with United, I'm not totally convinced what's going on at United. I don't know what's going to happen against Burnley. They might just park the bus, shut the door, and then we've got nothing. We can't even get the ball to Ronaldo. So how can we score? So I'm going to go, if you can bring a City asset in maybe instead with a KDB or a Son, I think, instead of a Ronaldo.
Yeah, I think that's a very fair point that you make. You've got to have some sort of Man City representation in your team because they just are so good, even if they do get rotated a fair bit. We've got another one, start one, King, Pookie or Brozier. I think that's a very, very difficult question. Obviously, you're not usually going to back a Norwich player in, but Pookie does like to score the goals. Josh King, they've got a relatively difficult fixture for West Ham. I think Brozier definitely wouldn't be starting out of the three because they've got Spurs, and Spurs are looking quite good at the minute. I think it's between King and Pookie, and I think just in terms of who the better player for me, I think is I probably would go with Josh King, but Pookie probably has the more favourable fixture, so it sort of depends what you're kind of looking for from your striker. But yeah, I'd say it's between King and Pookie. Ollie, I don't really know if you sort of have a strong opinion on this one because I can't really pick between the two.
Well, I mean, I was when I was reading that question, I was like King definitely, but I could be swayed. I think home fixture, I'll go King. Obviously, Palace away isn't a bad fixture for Norwich, but I'll go King just on the fact that they've got a home fixture against
Yeah,
West Ham, and King will be up there.
yeah,
But it's just with
absolutely.
Dennis if he plays. That's the only issue as well. Is if
Yeah,
you know what? You know what? I'm going to change my. I'm going to go Pookie. I'm going to Pookie just on the
the
basis that
Pookie party.
I'm just on the basis that Dennis is probably the number one option for goals at Watford at the moment. Probably the number one. The focal point, I should say. I couldn't find my words then. The focal point for Watford. So I think Pookie being the focal point himself at Norwich with a decent fixture, albeit away. I'll go Pookie just over King. It's close.
Just instead of the King one, obviously with Dennis going away, like is Cucho not a good asset to be looking at?
Not a bad one. Don't mind that call. That's left field.
Yeah,
Didn't he score early in the season? Was it
it's
Villa?
5 mil. Yeah, he's 5 mil, and he's contributed. Where is he on here? I'm going to bring him up now on the stats. He's actually looked pretty decent. He's gone 2 goals, 1 assist, but he's actually looked quite lively in the games. He actually scored a cracker of a goal, I think, in that game versus City as well. Or was it against? Or was it the first game of the season against Villa? But I thought he looked pretty decent. And if you're trying to save a bit of budget asset, he's probably going to play while Dennis is away as well. I like him, me.
Yeah,
I think
Brozier. Just on this, there's a comment further down saying Dennis or Brozier. We're not going to go to. We can't go to every question. So if you can, got Discord open, links that in the captions. So if you want those questions answered, we're not going to be able to get to every one of them, but we will try and get to as many as we can on the Discord later on before the deadline. But just while we're on this topic, I think Brozier long term is probably the better option because Dennis is obviously away.
Yeah.
But once Dennis comes back, I'd take him over Brozier. Just while we're on that, any more questions you got there, El? There's an absolute ton, and thanks to all of you for sending those in. Have we got another one we want to go to?
there is a lot of them. I think I want to bring this one up on the screen because I can relate to it. What brand of toilet paper should you buy in preparation for
Go
the
on, go on.
Leicester game? As a non-Salah owner, I think any toilet paper will do as long as you're getting a 12-pack because I think you're going to need a lot of it, to be honest. So it's going to be an interesting one. That game is obviously the one that everyone's going to have their eyes on, and they're going to be wanting to watch to see what Mohamed Salah can do. We've got another one where it says what the best strikers for a free hit this week. I think for me, if you're going for 3 of them, I'll be going with Edouard from Palace because they've got Norwich. I'll be going with Harry Kane, and probably I'm fancying Romelu Lukaku. I think he's going to get another return this week against Brighton. Is obviously Spike said there in the 121 year history, Brighton has never scored away at Chelsea. So I think Lukaku's definitely going to maybe have a field day in this game. He obviously likes to bully players. We saw it against Aston Villa, so it's going to be a one to keep your eye on for me personally. I think Lukaku obviously hasn't torn it up this season like we thought he was going to do. There was a lot of hope for him when he first transferred, but maybe this is going to be the time for him. I've got another one asking about transferring out Gallagher or Bernardo. I'll probably get rid of Gallagher myself. Wait for Bernardo, see what he can do for the next couple of weeks as well. But we've got a lot of comments there, but we do have to touch on our transfers ever so quickly as well. So you're more than welcome to keep the comments coming. Obviously, can't promise that we'll get to all of them, but as Ollie mentioned before, the Discord link is down in the description below. So if you're wanting questions there are plenty of people in that community who can help you out, and a lot of wonderful, wonderful people. If I do say so myself as well. So in terms of our transfers, boys, Ollie, what are your transfers going to be this week? I know you mentioned Brozier. Is there going to be any other ingoings or outgoings for your team this week?
No, obviously Wilson's the one that's going to come out for Brozier with the injury. I think that's the only one. I thought about taking a hit, but I don't think I will. I think that'll be the only one I'll make.
I think that's a fair point that you make. Jack, what are your transfers going to be?
Do you know something? I was looking at Damari Gray, and
I've put a thorn in your side, haven't I?
yeah, Well, I'm thrown. I don't know. Like, no, is that a no L from you or not? What's going on?
It's a difficult one, isn't it? Because you don't know what's going to happen. And the COVID situation last week at Newcastle, Eddie Howe said they've got no positive cases. So for him to come out now and say that
Yeah,
it's not looking good, I think something must be brewing up behind the scenes that doesn't look very good.
yeah. And thing is, I made that move, and then I saw the press conference about half an hour later because I watched the game. I thought, oh, Gray against Newcastle here is going to tear it up, and I thought I'll get him in now. And then I saw the press conference. I was like, oh dear.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Damari Gray, I brought him in, right? So, but even if he doesn't play, the game after is fine because I think Smith Rowe. I brought him in for Smith Rowe. So Smith Rowe against City, I don't think he's going to be affect the game. I hope it doesn't anyway. So, but I think Damari Gray long term anyway is going to be okay because he's got Brighton, Norwich, Villa thereafter. So I'm quite happy and quite content. I can still get 10 players on the pitch because Ramsdale's my goalkeeper, Foster's out. So I think I'm still content with what I've got.
I think that's a very astute transfer that you're going to be making. Obviously, if the game does go ahead, I think it's a good transfer. But obviously, if it doesn't, it's not looking like the best one. But you can't control it these days with the COVID situation, and obviously Jack's got a life as well, so he's not just waiting all the time for FPL and all that stuff. So if people do make these transfers early, I see a lot of people on Twitter that grill into people for not waiting right up until deadline for making their FPL transfers. But you do have to remember that people do have lives outside of FPL, and people can't always afford to just sit there and wait to deadline. They've got other things to do, so it's not always possible for people. In terms of my transfers for this week, I'm going to be boring, and for the 54 of you on YouTube that are in here now, if you haven't been here before, I'm one that rolls over quite a bit. I like to roll over my free transfers, so I'm doing what's called the infamous Elliot Craig rollover, as referred to by the rest a lot on the podcast. So I'll be saving one of my free transfers and fielding a fairly good team for this week, I think. But obviously my captain is going to be Heung-min Son this week, boys. I said it on Twitter earlier to the guru who can't be with us tonight that it is going to be Heung-min Son for me this week because I don't own Mohamed Salah. But Ollie, what are you doing this week? You getting Salah back into your team or not?
No, I've just made the one transfer, as I said before, mate. Captaincy wise, it's going to be a tough one to see who I go with. I want to back Ronaldo in. Obviously, how bad Burnley are. I know Ronaldo was poor. I'm probably going to back Ronaldo in as captain.
That's interesting. I do like that. Obviously, you don't like Burnley. I think it's
That's
ballsy
a
to go with Ronaldo.
large factor, and I think he'll score. I think he might bag a brace. I think he might do okay. See you later, Quentin. Thanks for your contributions. But I'm going to go Ronaldo.
I think it's a very good point that you make there. And Jack, finally, who's your captain going to be for this week?
I've got my armband on at the minute. Mo Salah. I've got Salah on, and it's just because Ralph didn't convince me this morning against Burnley. I think it's a great fixture on paper for United and for Ronaldo. He's got vice captaincy on, so but obviously anything can change in the next couple of hours. Well, we've got 2 hours till the deadline at the minute. However, that might change possibly. But oh yeah, I've got Salah and Ronaldo on vice, and I hate to go against Ronaldo against Burnley. It's such a good fixture, isn't it?
It is, but obviously there is this one man, Ralph Rangnick, there on the screen, who's not necessarily doing the best for Man United at the minute. So
Can I just say on the deadline change, Jack? I doubt that it's going to change because there's 3 games on at 2 o'clock our time.
Sorry, yeah,
There's 3 p.m. kickoffs, and I don't think all of those are going to get postponed. So I think the
No,
deadline
that's
should
correct.
say
in
midnight
before they
our
all get
time,
postponed.
which would
Sorry,
be
with the time difference, I'm all over the place. My apologies, but yes,
And the beers.
and the beers. I've had 0.
Anyway, we'll move on to the guru section for today, which is going to be ran by our very own Ollie Walker Peel, not the resident guru of FPL, but any questions that you might have, which we haven't managed to answer, might be answered here by the guru section from Ollie. So Ollie, I'll ask you to take it away. Usually, the guru does his 3 players to watch. He's noted it down in the document as 3 players, but he's only gone with 2 today, hasn't he, Ollie? So take us through the guru's 2 picks brought to you by Ollie Walker Peel.
Well, for all intents and purposes, he may well only have gone with one because Damari Gray, we've talked about at length, that game might get called off. But obviously, Damari Gray at the moment, 8.6% owned. Obviously, had a great game against Arsenal a little while ago that has a lot of people, in his memory. Obviously, a lot of people went with him earlier on in the season, did so well, and then cooled off. But definitely a good option. Great comment there from Leanne saying Ralph Ranić if he ordered him from Wish. Quality banter. So there's
where
one.
did they order the
Home to
actual Ralph
Newcastle.
Ranić from at this point then?
I don't know.
eBay.
But home to Newcastle, usually they're pretty bad in defence. We all know that. So we'll have to see if that one goes ahead. Ben Davies is the other one. Southampton away, 2.2% owned. There was a question, if you scroll up a little bit, Jack, there was a question saying, which defenders do you go with from Tottenham? If they aren't named Reguilon, and I think there was a second one in there as well. I can't exactly remember who. Yes, it wasn't that one. There was a different one as well, but there's another one that mentions Davies in there. Davies is a good option for mine. I don't mind it. I'm going to just try and find that comment about Tottenham defenders. It was a little while ago now.
Is it which Spurs defender to go besides Reguilon and Emerson?
That's the one by Game Boy. There we go. Davies is probably the one for me. I don't mind that as an option. It's a great pick by the Guru. Low owned, gets forward. Can obviously, if he plays, can obviously Elliot didn't have that go his way, but definitely a good option, and I don't mind it.
He should play this week if he's been rested. I think he'll play this game for sure. Ollie, we've got a question from Quentin there. We know how much you love Josh Brownhill and Burnley as well with that massive Blackburn flag in the background. But do you think he's a great cheap option for bench fodder?
Let's get that in view. There we go. Look at that. Absolute quality. But to be honest, let's be honest. If I'm taking my Blackburn glasses off, he is a good option. If you're genuinely looking for an unbiased view on a bench player, he probably is the best one. So I'm not going to be getting him in, obviously. But obviously, if you're not playing by that rule of having no Burnley players in, which I am, I'm not going to be getting him in. But probably a good option for you. If you want.
We'll move on to your 3 teams to back then, Guru, for this week. So which 3 teams have you gone with?
I can't believe you're calling
just
him
quickly,
the Guru.
this pains me to call Ollie the Guru.
I don't think you can call him the Guru. Just call him
How dare you stand where he
Blackburn
stood.
Guru.
My head has just got slightly larger off the back
The
of that
Wilson
comment.
Raider.
This is if you want a Matt Day off wish. This unbelievable. Yeah, Quentin, I'm not rising. I'm not rising to you. Mate. I've done it too many times before. I'm not rising. You're trying to bait me. You're trying to do one of these ones. You're trying to get me out with the old fishing rod. Not today, mate. Not today. But if we move on to the actual things that are happening in terms of the Guru, we've got to get onto his teams to back. We've got 3 of the traditional big 6. We've got Liverpool, we've got Chelsea, and we've got Tottenham. We mentioned Tottenham away at Spurs, decent fixture there. Chelsea home to Brighton. Ospike with one of the more mental stats that I've heard in a while, that Brighton have never scored away against Chelsea. Crazy stat. So Chelsea probably obviously on that at the moment, looking decent to potentially continue that run. And of course, the one we haven't mentioned there out of those 3 in depth is Liverpool away at Leicester, which is quite a tough fixture. It's usually always played around, the festive period. They usually do well as well. I remember on Boxing Day a couple of years ago, absolutely hammered Leicester. So, good one there. Obviously, last couple of fixtures for Salah and Mane head away. Still, we wanted to grab a few goals before they head off to AFCON. So, definitely astute 3 picks there from the real Guru, delivered to you by the fake Guru. Here today.
I can't believe we found someone that talks more than the actual Guru in his own section, Jack, haven't we? So I think that's quite the achievement.
But talks less than Chris Reed.
That's true. He does talk less than the human fence.
We might just found the happy medium.
Yeah, in between, in the middle, bang down the middle. You've got your captain picks as well, and there's a lot of questions in the live comments asking about captain picks and who to captain this week. So your options, just your normal captains, please, Ollie Walker-Peel.
All right, let's go with the captains. We'll leave the curveball until last. Again, 3 players that we expect to be here. Salah, the first of 2 Liverpool players that the Gurus mentioned. Obviously against Leicester, I think he's going to be hauling here, 10 plus at least. That's my prediction for this game. And not having Salah, it's going to hurt, but I think that's going to happen. Diogo Jota is another one The Guru's noted a great record against Leicester, so he expects that one to continue. Obviously, one that I've transferred out recently as well, so I'm not looking forward to this game. And Heung-min Son is the third one from Tottenham, who's obviously, again, like we said before, Tottenham doing well at the moment. Son is going to be a big part of that, you should think. So a good third captain shout. And in terms of the curveball, Romelu Lukaku, Elliot, you mentioned it before. You fancy him to fill his boots against Brighton. Obviously, as you say, never scored Brighton away at Chelsea, but at the other end of the pitch, they've got to keep the goals out themselves. And I don't back them to do it. I think Romelu Lukaku could have a field day here.
Yeah, I agree with you. So everyone that was asking, there's been a lot of questions. If you don't have Salah in your team, as one just popped up there, if you don't have if you can't captain Salah, who should you captain? So you've got some good options there. You've got Jota, Son, and Lukaku as well. And I'm sure most managers, if you don't have Salah, you'll have one of those three in your team. If not, there's still plenty of good options. A Man City midfielder is another good shout as well, but not one that the Guru has mentioned. We've also got the Guru Scout 11, which is the best team that you can field this week within the 100 million budget. So for everyone asking questions about, which players to get in this week, which players are going to do the best for you, if you're playing your free hit, this team's also a great one to go with as well. So Ollie, I'll have to ask you to take us through the team as the guru in place of today. So take us through the reasoning behind Matt Day, the guru's picks for this team.
I mean, obviously, I don't live in his head rent free, so I can't actually provide his actual reasoning, but I can try and do my best summations just while, I've got a bit of airtime. Just want to say there are a lot of questions, and we do want to answer them all. We can't get to them all live, but like we say, get to the Discord down below in the description, and there are tons of people there to answer all of your questions. So get yourself down there, and you can be part of a wonderful FPL Addicts community. On to the Scout 11, easy one in net, David De Gea, Burnley at home, should be a clean sheet there. Don't clip it if it doesn't happen, but I think it will be. So a safe one, and also save points as we saw this morning. Davies, we've talked about Southampton away. Trent Alexander-Arnold, obviously good record, scored a goal away at the King Power not too long ago. Zinchenko is an interesting one, probably in there to get a cheap way into the City defence. Obviously not the one that we talk about the most in terms of City defenders, but a decent one. There's actually notes on Mason Holgate. Obviously 0 attackers for Newcastle if the game goes ahead. Obviously they've been injury ravaged, so decent one, and he's a cheap way into the Everton back line. If you move into the midfield, Salah, Jota, Son, we've already talked about. Phil Foden rounds out that midfield four against Brentford away. Obviously, Man City, embarrassment of riches. We did talk about it before on the podcast, and Foden's a big part of that. When he goes, can go big as well. There's not really a happy medium, is there, with Foden? He either blanks or goes huge. So Foden goes huge, then you're in for a big score. And then a front two, we talked about them both at length. Dennis against West Ham at home, and Lukaku against Brighton at home rounds out the 11. Decent Scout 11 there, and we'll have to see how it gets on next week.
I think it's a really good pick there from the Guru, Ollie, and I think you make some really good points. He's obviously got the notes there, so the Guru's done most of the work presented to you there by Ollie Walker-Peel, and obviously the bits of information that aren't listed on the document, Ollie's had to give his sort of expert analysis on it as well. So we thank you very much for that one, Ollie. And obviously, as Ollie said, with all the questions, if we can't get to answering them, we will wrap up in just a minute. Then it's definitely worth making your way into the Discord, joining the wonderful community, and getting to know a bunch of FPL managers better, and getting your questions answered as well. But I think that's pretty much going to be the end of the podcast today, boys. For me, I don't really have too much more to add. We thank you all so much for watching, and we haven't really had a turnout like this ever, really. So we thank you all for all the questions. As I said, if we didn't answer it, get to the Discord. I can't believe how many times I've said it tonight, but it really is worth your time. If you don't know who Pizza Boy is yet, you will soon if you join the Discord. And I promise you, any issue, any time of day, he will be there to help you with your FPL problems. And he usually gives pretty spot on advice. So I'm sure he'll be happy to help. But obviously, best of luck with Game Week 20. If you haven't already, make sure you're hitting the like button and subscribing down below so you can join the live stream next week and bring any questions along with you. As always, may all your FPL dreams come true for Game Week 20. Take care, stay safe. Bye for now.